Just a quick little proviso that while we are cheerfully calling all vegans, the opinions and beliefs expressed by them do not always reflect our own.
Our final guest is a friend of mine, but up until this morning, when we did the big reveal, we'd only had the pleasure of one another's company online. She's a Montreal-based artist and badass animal rights activist with whom I worked on the Eating Animals Causes Pandemics campaign during COVID. She's also the person who very cleverly came up with the name Wishbone after hearing me tell my story of being a tiny kid, constantly wishing that people stop hurting animals on shooting stars and birthday cake candles, but even turkey wishbones back in the day. Her artwork is incredible, making me so glad I didn't share a kindergarten class with her because none of my finger painting would have ended up onto Mrs. Weber's classroom wall. Please welcome Jenny Donovan to the Calling All Vegan show. So you're here in town on a little holiday and you took in a concert. It's best I don't attempt the pronunciation of the band you went to see, so I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, I went to see Krungbin.
How's that spelled?
Kruangbin. And I believe it's a Thai
Phonetically
word.
then.
Yes, yes, yeah. They never expected to be as popular as they are. So
Obviously.
by the time things were rolling, the name had stuck. So.
Yeah, so now it's kind of unique. So
That's it.
Makes them stand out.
Yeah.
Now, art, entertainment, storytelling, and humor are all proven to be highly effective in breaking through the noise and groupthink in our world. And they play a big role in influencing society's acceptance of new ideas. So I really think art is a great form of animal activism. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's so many messages coming through all the time. There's something about different kinds of arts, but in the case of the visual arts, there's something about a synthesized image or idea that can reach people in a way. And I think ultimately artists we're connected and we're picking up on something, and we're basically just vessels of transmitting a message. And I think it has to be brought across in a way that's very succinct. It's one image, let's say. Yeah. And I think sometimes that simplicity of an image can connect and speak more directly to people.
Yeah.
So it has that capacity, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. And so many things in life do distract and demotivate us and can cause us to procrastinate. Pretty sure that creatives aren't immune to that. Is there one thing in particular that kind of throws up a creative roadblock for you?
Do you want just one?
Yeah. Well, we can start with one.
I think there are so many, and I think it's a day-to-day struggle.
How about social media? That social media
huge.
Thing is...
It's huge. Kind of tied in with social media. I mean, I have access to and exposure to all kinds of brilliant art and brilliant artists. So there's often this like imposter syndrome that happens, often this like idea that, what am I doing? Am I kidding myself? Am I, but I think that's just a normal factor of being someone that questions a lot and
of course
is maybe a little too sensitive sometimes.
Yeah.
So
well, us on the outside who have no talent. we
don't
see
say no talent. Don't
I'm
say
sorry,
that.
All right, just John and myself. Now, AI has become a kind of a controversial discussion topic lately, and I have my own mixed feelings as to its benefits and its disadvantages. What are your thoughts on its place in animal activism specifically and art generally?
I've never been a really good predictor of technology and how it will play out. My tendency is always to be guarded and reserved, and I think in the case of AI, I would say I would go to the other extreme of saying that I'm quite fearful of it.
Yeah,
I think it has the capacity to change the landscape like nothing else before. I think it's the new internet, and I think it has tremendous potential. But as we've seen with internet and what that's brought, it also has a lot of challenges. And I think specifically in the arts, it's quite scary. There's this sort of sense that I remember Burton saying something along the lines of when he sees reproduction of his own work done through AI, it's almost like it's a it's a bit of his own psyche that's being stolen,
Yeah.
you know? So I think there's a real fear. And the fact that, you know, creative industry is always a struggle anyway.
Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
the onset of AI is just going to exacerbate that issue. And in terms of animal rights, I think it's another tool. And I think it has the potential to be quite useful. I mean, I'm someone who, when the first phone came out with the camera, I was like, who's gonna get ads? How gimmicky. So I'm not a good judge of how this will go. But I'm definitely, there's some trepidation for sure.
Yes,
But there's great potential as well.
absolutely. Yeah, I think we're on the same page for sure.
Yeah.
Now, your range extends from kind of whimsical and playful. I'm talking about your artistic range. Maybe not. We don't have to talk about your personality. It's lovely. To poignant, sobering, and profound. To comical, playful, and surreal, all the way to dark, disturbing, and dystopian. Are you able to generally describe your style, or I'm not sure how I put it, but just maybe what you're most drawn to?
That's a tough one too, Sue.
We asked the tough
I know.
questions here.
the good question. I think I really do operate from a place of what's coming up. And when I think I'm at my best is when I'm tapped into something where I'm not really, it's like something coming through me.
Yeah.
So that might be why
We
sometimes.
have a conduit sitting here on the couch.
There you go. Yes. Bringing in
Yeah.
through. Yeah, so I think there's something in me that feels compelled. And I think the closer I am to just not getting too caught up in my thought, that's what comes out. And whether it's something that's playful or something more serious, I think these are just areas of exploration for me.
Now, I wanted to talk about your two little kind of projects. So the connectors, and this is the artwork that's up here on the wall. These two little beauties belong to that series. They're part of my personal family of pieces. Well, I'm getting there.
You're there.
I was planning to donate them to the lab, but now seeing them in real life, I'm getting kind of greedy and having second thoughts. But please tell us what or who connectors are.
So connectors sort of came about. I had lost my mother a year ago, and that was a big moment for me.
Yeah.
And I had been toying with the idea of working on a solo exhibit called The Connectors. And then when my mom passed away, I really felt I needed to do something to kind of get busy. Yeah. So I dove in, and I booked a hall. And by that fall, end of October, I had a full solo exhibit. And in it was a combination of connectors, but I also introduced the Coronation Project because they are connected. Yeah. And the connectors is really just about the idea that everything around us, living things, let's say, they have their own worlds, they have their own communications. And oftentimes if we look, we can connect it. We can see like something that might look like a mother being taking care of its little progeny or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that we're all connected. Yeah. And I think the less familiar, the greater the chance there is or the greater the challenge there is to look for ways that we're connected. And of course that ties into our whole relationship with animals.
Yeah, the natural world and everything. Yes,
yeah,
that's true. And beside you there on the couch are two pieces from the Coronation Project, kind of where art meets storytelling meets animal activism. And you are depicting animals in a far different way than most people see them. Can you tell us about it and how each subject is bestowed their crown?
Yes. In the Coronation Project, all animals, all beings are crowned. And it's the idea that as humans, we've, I think, oftentimes missed the mark on how fortunate we are to share this planet with all these living beings. And that regardless of how we see them or how we treat them, they possess in themselves their own innate dignity, their own nobility. Yeah. So for me, the Coronation Project is really about shifting my activism into an area that really resonates with me. It's, I I find when I see a lot of troubling abuse, violence, all the videos that we're all exposed to about that we see during our activism. And the thing that I think when I'm at my most simple and purest point in me, what I see most is just wanting to go up to those beings and acknowledging that dignity and putting that crown on them.
Yeah.
And that hopefully the more we see that, hopefully the more that we see this noble, and a lot of these crowns are directly tied to their contribution to their surroundings, their environment.
Yeah.
And that we would do better to recognize that nobility and that beauty.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the Coronation Project is going to be a book. It's a collection of real life stories. That wolf is a very popular wolf named 06, who was famous in the Yellowstone parks. And people from all over the world would travel to try and get a glimpse of 06, who brought up her own pack, sort of an unlikely hero. She was known for taking down an entire elk before her pack was strong enough to be able to participate. She was absolutely beloved and brilliant. It was within weeks of them lifting the hunting ban in Yellowstone. And because there was a rival pack in the region that 06 and her pack were in, they were called the Lamar region wolf pack. So she brought them out. That was just meters maybe outside of the safe zone of Yellowstone Park. And it was clear that there were hunters that had their eyes set on her, and she was killed.
Yay, humans, once again.
Yeah. So this is about taking that wrong that I can't fix, that we can't fix, and at least acknowledging that incredible being, that incredible contribution to this planet.
Only a small percentage of the population is vegan, and then an even smaller fraction are animal activists. I like to ask people their vegan backstory, but I'd like to know the story behind you becoming an animal rights activist as well. And you're both prolific and varied in your approach.
I mean, I grew up always loving animals, and this idea of connection, which I still play with that theme a lot, it was instant. As a child, I could see all the things that were common between us rather than seeing them as very apart from us. So I think that was always there. But of course, you grow up in a culture that really separates that connection. So I think I originally explored being a vegetarian when I was a teenager. And it was not through the lens of animal rights. It was more from a health perspective. I think by the end of high school, I became a little bit more aware of things and the idea that dolphins were being killed as bycatch for tuna. And that's when I started sort of putting the connection. And I think as I was doing long distance training for a long time, I was doing triathlon, and I decided that I wanted to try vegetarian and did very well. And then it was 2010, I saw the documentary Earthlings. And by January 2011, I went full vegan. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
You have 2 fur kids in your life, and can you please share their very special story?
Yes. Yeah. So the first doggy is Winnie, and she came into our lives just literally a month after we lost our dog Bunny, and that was a really tough time, and we weren't sure if it was too soon. But the minute so Winnie is a dog meat survivor. She traveled all the way from South Korea through Humane Society International. And while we were grieving the loss of our dog, I saw this video of the HSI team walking through where they were from, plus where they were staying. And I saw this one dog in the corner. There were tons of them, but I saw this one dog on the right, and I was like, that's our dog. Her name was Meredith at the time. But we felt it was okay to change her name.
Yeah.
We did. And so we adopted
Winnie's
her.
a cute name.
Oh, and it suits her.
Yeah.
So we adopted her, and it's been a long road for her, but it's been beautiful to see the transition.
Yeah.
Where she was afraid of
Really
everything
shy.
and everyone.
Yeah.
She would only eat out of our hands at the beginning. She wouldn't climb stairs. She didn't know how. Yeah. So now, I mean, we all have our quirks. We all have our issues. Just recently, at the end of December, we adopted another dog meat trade survivor named Bento. He's a little younger, and he's definitely, I think they're great for each other because
Yeah.
he's a little, they've got their fears for sure, but he's a little bit more confident, and I think it's really helped them. And they snuggle together, and it's so cute. And so yeah, those are my babies. Yes, they're my babies, and I love them. Thank you for asking.
Oh, well, I mean, it's another form of activism, pulling 2 dogs out of the dog meat trade.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you were one of the poor grade 12.
Yeah.
As much as you're able, mainly due to legal constraints, can you just describe what this was, your role, and then the bigger picture importance of civil disobedience in raising awareness about the exploitation of animals across all of the industries in our broken system?
Yeah, we are in the process of appealing the sentencing. So there are some things because of the sentencing I'm not allowed to talk about, but I can talk about the experience and how it was a complete, I mean, there's an awareness that you have as an activist, but this was a full body, visceral, physical experience, what we lived through, what we saw, what we documented. And the idea of civil disobedience, a lot of things that we used throughout our campaign was the quote by King, which is something along the lines of, one has the obligation to disobey laws that are
Morally unjust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better quote, that's closer to.
No, I'm not sure of that.
It's
I know
closer
what I
for
know
sure.
of.
But that's the general idea. And challenging unjust laws is also taking a temperature of what's going on around you. Because I do believe that is it's important, and it's essential, but it's also a question of whether people are ready to be confronted with it.
Yeah.
And if they're not,
Timing's
then
everything, as they say, right?
It really is. It really is. So I feel that we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We need to slowly start rattling the cages a bit more. But I will say that experience has really reinforced the direction I'm taking with the Coronation Project, because it really did me in. I applaud the activists that like, I have to bring up Jenny McQueen, because I'm just amazed by her tenacity and her endurance and her ability to keep going.
Yeah.
And I really felt that I have to find an activism that I can sustain.
Yeah, I think that that's the thing, different strokes for different folks. And I mean, if some things land with some people, some things don't. And that's from both the activist point of view and the person receiving the message.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I hope to be involved in all kinds of ways, but I know that I feel at home. I feel at home with what I'm doing right now. I feel that there's room for that. Yeah.
Now, last question. It's not as hard of one. Montreal has the best vegan restaurants. What's your favorite? Go.
Oh, Sue, I'm going to share with you. Okay. You mean that's still open? Because my favorite one just closed. They all are closing. My favorite one
is happening in Toronto.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just.
I know. Talk about that is flattening, isn't that?
Yes.
Oh, I
yeah.
know.
So there was one right down the street from, like, a 10-minute walk from me called.
That's a little dangerous, though.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a bit.
But they're gone. They're closed.
Oh, that's
the best one was Conceria. It was fantastic. Yeah. But there still are some great ones, and I'm hopeful. I mean, there's so much creativity in the food industry in Montreal. So I'm just counting on some people stepping up. Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be a moneymaker, right?
It
That's
does.
the thing that's killing people.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Well, Bish and I want to thank you very much for being here. It's been a long time coming, right?
I'm happy to meet you.
Yes,
In person.
That's right. Yeah, we already knew each other. So we'll list all your contact details and everything afterwards. So thanks, everyone, and see you at the next Calling All Vegan show. That was good.